So we tend to meet at that hour, and that's when we kind of do our
Mm.
batches. And then at 12 o'clock, my other co-host from my Optimize the Prime podcast, he's in Bangladesh. So we meet from 12 to 2 with some recordings. So we were recording with a really, really awesome guest. And then on 1:45, yeah. After that, there's a mini podcast series that I'm doing with another gentleman and my co-host for Optimize. We're doing this thing called Soul of Success. It's like a 6 episode of, our perspective and what success means. So it's been great because I came right up on this.
Oh, so you're busy. So you're going from recording to record. No, you're going from hosting, recording.
Yeah. So it's a
And
little
now we're
mixture.
recording.
Yeah. But I did take a few minutes to go and have a picnic with myself outside in the grass.
Ooh, self-care.
It's very important to have balance.
It is. I haven't been on a picnic in, oh my God, I'm going to age myself. It's been a while.
Okay.
Been a while. How
Well, you
often do you go
look
on picnics?
when especially on Saturdays, I try to do it. I try, and again, it's either me or with my daughters. So, today was just me, solo.
Oh, that's
Mm.
nice. Give us
The
some
Hungry
tips.
Caterpillar. The Hungry Caterpillar was a very I don't know if you've ever heard of that book. It's a children's book.
I don't think so. I'm more of a paper bag princess. Humpty
Okay.
Dumpty. Kind of.
Yeah. It was just this little caterpillar going through life, eating everything. And so when they were little, it was one of their favorite books that I used to read to them. And we just bought everything that was in the book and had a whole picnic and ate everything, read the book and everything. So I don't know, picnic's been kind of like something that's cool.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Because I remember I do a lot of things where I look back on it and you don't realize how much of a routine it's become until you look back and you're like, oh my God, I've been doing this every Saturday for the last
Yeah.
number of years, right?
I
So
love it.
I
Yeah.
love it too. And today we're going to talk about communication
Hmm.
in relationships,
Yeah.
in everything. We're taught how to say words, but so many of us are not taught how to communicate our feelings or anything like that. So do me a favor, please.
Hmm.
Introduce yourself, tell my audience a little bit about who you are, and of course, where they can find you.
Okay. My name is Laziena Hodge. I like to call myself a relationship repair companion, but I did write this book called The Relationship Repair Language. My work, it basically focuses on helping people understand what they actually need during conflict so the conversation can move towards repair instead of disconnection. And I believe that we have emotional needs, but we also have relational needs as well. And so we need to be able to understand what that is within ourselves so that we can be in better relationship with others. And if you want to find me, just type in my name, Laziena Hodge. You're going to find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Yeah, or you can just go to laziena.com and that will be me.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing. So let's start from the very beginning. Why did you
Yes.
get involved in this type of work?
Um, you know, about 6 years ago, my ex-husband at the time, well, my husband at the time called me to let me know that he had been in a very inappropriate relationship with my daughter, and it broke up my entire family. I had 2 children as well with him. So it was a moment in life where I just kind of was like, even in the front of the house, I was in the grass and I was like, what happened here? Here I am. At that time, I was 38 and I have 3 children. This is the same way my mom had 3 children at that age. I don't want to like not have a future. Something's not right here. So I started to go within. I was like, I wanted to understand what was my part in it and how did I mess up, so to speak, or what was the responsibility I needed to take? And so as I started to go deeper into myself, that's when I started to realize that I was passing on generational trauma to my children. I saw that this is how it damaged everybody, and I started to learn about my attachment style, and I didn't even understood that I had attachment styles. So when I took that attachment style quiz, I was like, "Oh my God, what did I do to my kids?" So I immediately made them take it so that I could understand what has been started so that I can start breaking that cycle and transforming the cycle. And we just it just led me to so many different things. I went to an inner child workshop. I realized how much reparenting that I needed to do. And so in turn, my children also needed reparenting. And at that point, I started to date someone as well. I'm like, man, I'm conscious in this relationship now. I see how I messed up the other one. I know that I have patterns. I know that I have avoidant attachment. And I also know my love language is. So why, I can be in this relationship, but it wasn't working. And as I'm doing more deeper dives in myself, I realize it's like we just never learned what our emotional needs were. We never learned what feelings were or how to communicate them. And oftentimes when it comes to inner child work, there's a stigma because, you want to blame your parents. Nobody wants to blame their parents. But there is an element that we do need to just go and blame so that we can acknowledge what was happening there. And that is really what shows up in different areas in our lives because we're from a very young age. I understood that my nervous system and my emotional needs were not even regulated or understood. So that has been present in my life in so many ways. It's at work, it's how I parent, it's how I do relationship with family, friends, and romantic partners. So to me, it all boiled down to understanding what our emotional needs are, what my emotional needs were, how can I meet those needs, and how can I ask for support in it instead of demanding or expecting another person to know what my needs were. And also like, being that codependent on you, sir, are responsible for everything that I need, and I'm gonna get mad at you because you're not meeting those needs. And I think it, just kind of spiraled into that. So the work ended up being a reflection of my own self and my own life and how I have repaired my relationship with my children by understanding their nervous system and being able to co-regulate with them. And being a parent to me is there's a relational responsibility there because I expected my children to know what emotions were and how to speak about them, how to process them. And that really wasn't the case. So it all kind of started there with my own life and then, mismatches in relationship and understanding that someone else is also going to come with all of these things and having the grace and the compassion and the understanding and the desire to want to learn about them from curiosity instead of blame or projections. I think that really makes a big difference when it comes to relationship, is being able to have the capacity to know when someone needs the space or when to ask for the space. And so that, in a nutshell, that's kind of where it came from.
That is something that to me is kind of shocking to go through because you're building this family and then someone within that family has a situation, or based on what you're saying, maybe it was more than one that has such a significant impact because the home is supposed to be one of the safest things ever created.
Hmm.
Let me rephrase that. A healthy home is supposed to be one of the safest things ever created because you've probably seen either yourself or maybe the people you work with. There's some unhealthy versions of these homes.
Yeah.
Looking back now, how do you think it impacted you then? And how do you think it may still impact you today?
Specifically, what in do you mean by what impacted me? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, that's okay. So, like, when you're going through it, there was an impact. How do you think it impacted your family and
Hmm.
how you wanted to create, I guess, a new life for you? And how do
Yeah.
you think it's still showing up in your new life today, that
Mm.
situation?
Okay. So when it came to that particular situation, I find that when within my culture, but a lot of other everywhere, sexual abuse is just there and nobody talks about it and they hide it. And sometimes parents are with women are so ashamed of, there's a lot of shame and blame. And so at that time, I was, oh my God, I was so in so much shame and guilt. I just wanted to hide because I didn't expect that this was going to happen in my family as well. So as I started to look, I just didn't I had this like, I don't know, this fire inside of me that said this stops here and this stops now. And I realized it was because I wasn't present. I wasn't emotionally present. And so as I'm looking for other people to help me and like help me get out of this, it the people who have who overcame this kind of stuff, they were out of reach. I couldn't even get in touch with them, or they were speaking more about how to do it differently rather than what's happening in the middle of it. And so I felt like I needed to get the strength with to overcome it and bring my children out of it because my children was attached to it. I think that gave me even more of a mama bear type of let's go after this. So in that space, I was just like unsure of anything, and I was trying everything that could possibly work and doing my best that I could to move forward in life and not let this thing sink me or revert back or hide away. Um, and it was really hard. It was really confusing. It felt alone a lot. It was a lot of agony. And so to to how it shows up now, um, when it comes to speaking about the stigmas or the things that people or the taboo information, I can feel a little bit of resistance, especially with the state of the world and what's been revealed recently. um, it's been heartbreaking to witness because for me, I was going to court for almost 2 years, where the judicial system, the criminal court and the family court didn't really talk to each other. So while I knew this thing happened and I have the confession and I have the evidence and I see how it all played out and how much damage, emotional damage it has done to my entire family, um, because the law doesn't speak to each other. It was just allegation, it wasn't a conviction. Family law said, well, I was the one who was wrong and I needed to, I was bearing the brunt of it. So now to be able to witness that that's happening, literally we all are aware of what's going on, but because there hasn't been charges or anything like that, nothing's being done. It's it it really affects me to my core. I sometimes can't even pay attention to it because it's so I want to fight and I want to speak for everybody and I want to get justice. But what I can do is what's in my control. So one of the things that I decided that I'm going to do again, is going to host a parenting kind of class where not even a class, like a cohort, so that we can now create generational legacy instead of generational trauma and be in the community, in the here and in the now, and give people language and ways that we can have better relationship with our children because my daughter didn't have safety to come to me in the first place, right? So now we can, and I didn't know what I didn't know. So now we can do that differently. We don't have to do it blindly. We don't have to do it without support, and we certainly don't have to do it in shame. We can do it with support, with being in a supportive environment. So that's kind of how I did it then, and I mean how it was then and how it is now.
I love that you brought up shame and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
I look at my relationships, especially my 20s,
Mm-hmm.
where they're very performative, in a sense that I was people pleasing. I had to do everything because from my childhood experience, if I didn't do
Mm-hmm.
everything, if I wasn't A+ student, if I didn't get a gold medal, if I didn't play every single sport, I was even playing badminton and tennis to get validation and attention, right? Where people were playing basketball and football and some other things. And what I learned was that it was showing up in my relationships at that time because I believed that if I were to do certain things that people would love me more and more,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of if I'm loving the person in the way that they would want to be loved. And then something happened. And what happened was I was doing those things, but I wasn't getting the same type of love as previously. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. So I would do more and more of it. But my relationships would get shorter and shorter and they would still fall apart. I share that because there was a sense of guilt that maybe that I wasn't being the person that I needed to be because I could give so much more, but it was draining me. It was exhausting.
Mm.
And it was frustrating at the time because you're trying and you're trying and you're getting the same results. What I learned, and maybe you learned this as well, is once you take control of your own destiny and what you want, regardless of what the outside voices say, because you listen to the inner voice, then you could find more and more success.
Mm.
From a emotional standpoint, then, what do you think is missing from people in general to listen to that inner voice and not the external ones when it comes to finding happiness and contentment in their life?
I'm gonna give you a little bit of a long-winded response, so bear with me, right? I for the validation piece that you mentioned, right? I resonate with that very well because what I've learned is that when I was about 6 years old or so, I chose to believe that my father didn't want me. And because I believed that, I made decisions and took actions that reinforced that belief and recreated that very nature of that relationship, wanting my father's validation, needing my father's love, needing his approval. And what I didn't know is that based on a lot of neuroscience, from 0 to 3 is when we learn our emotional and our nervous system learn safety. And so the environment that we grow up in within that 3 years is what really shape who, what we feel, how we feel safe and how we feel loved. By age 7, our limiting belief is already locked in. And then by 13, our inner teenager says, hey, you know what? You're not good enough, and I'm gonna protect you and I'll make sure nobody gets you. And then, that's kind of where everything like kind of stem from. So there's so much when it comes to n- going inwards and really understand that I am the creator of my reality. That belief is the thing that stopped me from the very thing that my inner child wanted in the first place, which was to feel belonged, to feel loved, to have community, to feel respected. These are all our very core human needs. And when I look back on it, it makes sense. When I was a young mom, I was 19 when I got married. I was very aggressive. And what did that do for my child as I look back from 0 to 3, right? That is the energy that she got. So she was always afraid. And so even sometimes now that I've gotten the chance, thankfully, to be a better parent or to be a better person in general. Sometimes if I'm joking and I raise my hand, my children would kind of like have an instinctive reaction. That is the amount of damage that can be done at a very, very young age. So we have to be able to unpack, and that is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is how many beliefs was stem from there, how I show up at work, how I show up in relationships, how I show in romantic relationships, all of the relationships. I use my children a lot, but in romantic relationship, those belief really stops us from being the creators of our reality because I am totally in someone else's reality. I am trying to please them. I want them to love me. I look at all of the things that I'm doing. Can't you see? But at the same time, it's not it's so much more deeper. There's so much biological makeup, there's so much emotional makeup. But at the end of the day, is a little child who was born into this world and needed unconditional love. And life said, no, you're not loved. And that one moment or two moments took away all of the joys that we've experienced, all of the pleasures and the inner the to be childlike with curiosity, without fear, to be in that state of creativity and living from that curiosity and wanting to create. it was all gone because of those little beliefs. So I've had the opportunity to really reparent my inner child. And by doing that, it's really allowed me to see that I have the control, not like in the outward control, but the control within myself to show up in different ways or move through life with more passion, more purpose, more desire. And I hope that I'm answering your question, because really and truly it goes down to that connection with my inner child and being able to create that safety within myself, so I'm not depending on someone else to come and rescue me or save me or help me get better or help me in my work or help me thrive in other areas. It's truly me. And within me is, I truly believe that our inner child is our spirit, and that's what the voice is. And so becoming friends with that little one, and understanding that when emotions come up, it's an unmet need, and really and truly that's who needs it. I've needed community. I've needed connection. I've needed to be cuddled, to be hugged. And that's all part of our emotional needs, which I just never knew. When I'm angry, it's my inner child wanting to feel understood, wanting to have a voice. When I am sad, it's my inner child just wanting to know that I will love you no matter what. You're safe. You can be messy. You can be angry, you can throw a tantrum, but you're still lovable. And I think that's the part of it that we all kind of don't really have the opportunity or the examples to be able to get into.
What role then do you think self-worth and self-value plays in our limiting beliefs?
Eh, That is a driving factor for everything. I mean, so yesterday I was talking to someone and I was sharing with them that I'm going to be doing two things that are really exciting to me. And I'm just excited to share that I'm finally doing this thing that I've always wanted to do, and it's coming into fruition, and yay. And their first reaction was, "Oh, well, you have to do this and you have to, like, to tell me how to do it, like I was doing it wrong." If I didn't have that self-belief and that self-worth in myself, whatever their insecurity that they just said to me would have determined how I moved on today. It would have, in the past, when I'm not secure in myself and I attach my self-worth into the opinions of others, I am moving from their fear, not even my own. So I think it's really important for us to have that strong foundation of our own self-worth, our own validation, because everyone is going to be looking from things in their own perspective, including myself. And that can really have an impact on others, especially for someone like me who love community and love connection. I used to put so much value in people, like, oh my God, I admire you. Why are you telling me this? There's so much that I have attached to other people. And I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to really give that validation to myself and really witness me. I think it's very important for us to witness ourselves, because when we do great things, not everybody's going to see it. They're not going to. At this time in my life, I feel like I'm thriving and I'm doing really awesome things that I've always wanted to do. But the comments that I receive is, aren't you doing a lot? You're doing too much? When do you have time for yourself? And it's like, that's not that 3 years ago would have had me on the couch for 2 weeks. I would not have, like, I would have been like, oh, nobody believes in me. I just want to be believed in. And now I'm not, just attaching external validation. I think it's very, very important to have that structure within ourselves.
I had a dream in my Martin
Mm.
Luther King voice.
Thank you. That's how I heard it. Thank you. Oh my gosh. See, this is why we're best friends.
We're best friends. I just have to pronounce her name correctly, everyone, but I'm working on it. I will give her coffee and other gifts to win her over. But I did have a dream that I wanted to become reality, and that dream was I wanted to help people from a coaching aspect because my foundation in helping people is very religious.
Hmm.
Um, I grew up in a Christian household. I gave Bible readings and Bible talks, which I enjoyed doing because I felt that I was helping people. But I wanted to help those who may not have been of that faith. I just want to help people in general.
Mm-hmm.
Well, COVID comes along. We're all in our homes and we're not even allowed to see the cat across the street, right? Because we're all locked away. I said that I'm going to go back to school during this time. I'm going to become a coach. I'm going to become a mentor. And then I want to start a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but hope and faith in myself is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to a couple of people that I knew that was involved in those industries, and they said, "Okay, Train, we're going to help you. Just give us a little bit of time." So I was okay. I followed up next week. Next week became next month. Next month became next year, and I was like, "Okay, this is my baby. They may not believe in it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's okay because it's not their baby to believe in, right?" It's like someone walking down the street and they say your kid and they see your child. It's cute, it's nice, whatever, but it's not theirs. The way that you're protective and you love your daughters is going to be different than them because to them it's a stranger, it's still a beautiful child, but to you it's your world, it's your baby.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is I started to take back the power and the value I put into others and redistributed that to say that I'm going to pour into my cup first, oxygen mask on myself first, and then I'm going to see if I can help other people. And two things happened during that journey. One, I realized I had some pretty sketchy friends around me. Two, the journey was lonelier than I
Yeah.
thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that not necessarily because I felt lonely. I thought all of my friends were going to be supportive. And I was like, oh, wow. I can count on one hand. I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
left and right like you are. And I'm just like, oh, so those 15-year relationships, it really didn't mean as much as I thought it did. When it comes to the value in people, like you shared in the example I gave, what impact can having the wrong people, the wrong community around you have on the relationships that you're trying to build, whether they're personal or romantic?
Oh, I mean, the emotional, as you're sharing that, the emotional weight of that alone is incredible. Um, to be around the wrong people, they not they, because I would say that I was the wrong people at one time, right? There were times when I was so in a victim mindset. Anytime anybody tried to give me any advice or whatever it is, or believe or pour belief into me, I couldn't receive it. I was not able to even get into that mindset. So I think that when it comes to being around the wrong people, that you can't grow. You cannot grow. It stunt me. Um, and there's a level of enthusiasm that's needed, but not only enthusiasm, the road is long and it's hard, and it'll have moments where that feels like failure in the beginning, but at another side it's not failure. And having the wrong people there's no support. That's daunting. Right now I'm just in my mind thinking about how heavy that feels like to be around people who aren't supportive, who doesn't really understand what purpose and um divine purpose and just life purpose, or to have lost so much and gain it back, to have walked through regret and um forgiveness and remorse. I wouldn't know what that feels like. I wouldn't know what abundance and joy feels like. I wouldn't know what it feels like to believe in myself. I wouldn't know what it feels like to believe in others. I wouldn't know what it would feel like to overcome rejection, to overcome um not feeling wanted, not feeling like all of these beliefs that I've had, it would have just amplified even more rather than overcoming it together. And I would love to grow with everyone, but I feel like it's essential when it comes to connection that we surround ourselves with people who also have that belief in themselves and they have a vision. And even if it's not my vision and it's their vision, at least we are visioning together on the journey, because that road back there is not, it's a learning process. It is a part of the human experience. It is to grow from. And so in some ways, I'm thankful for those experiences to show me that I can do it differently. But no, I wouldn't want to be there. That I don't want to be there again, I would say. And I wouldn't want to participate in someone being there either.
We only look back to check the luggage in our car as we drive away from toxic relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you then think some people need the hell to appreciate heaven?
I I don't I do believe that because it's the gratitude feels different. The self-belief feels different because I know what that took to and it's to crawl my way stair by stair and then slide down again and then go up again. There's something about that, and I usually try to share this too with people. The journey is hard. It is not easy because why would I want to go on a journey that's hard? But on the other side of it, there's something else that you can't even experience until you get there, until I get there. So it's important to overcome that. I do believe that we have angels and spirit guides and all of these wonderful mythologies, right? And one of the things that is common is that we can't interfere with free will. And so, what else in the human experience that's going to give us that opportunity to understand agony and sorrow and the depths of despair to really what love and unconditional love and gratitude really feels like. It's not saying that I'm gratitude to will myself to to be grateful or practicing it so much that I'm in that state. It's like waking up every day and I'm like, man, I'm thankful for what I have because I know what it's like to have lost it. Or to almost lose it, or to believe that I didn't have it in the first place. And so I do feel that those moments are important to have. We would it can happen. We don't have to necessarily go through all of it. We can quantum leap it. We can get coaches who and tech therapists and experiences that can help us along the way to trigger it, and then we can see what it is. But it doesn't necessarily. We can't bypass it. I don't think we can bypass it.
You mentioned gratitude, and that's something that I learned was very important,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're not getting it from others, because it always should start from within yourself. But some people struggle to give themselves gratitude. They struggle to
Mm-hmm.
even give themselves grace. How many times have you heard that someone will, you give someone a compliment? That's a nice
Mm-hmm.
hairstyle. That's a nice dress. Oh, this whole thing? They would minimize the gratitude that they receive because to themselves, they think that maybe they're not worthy of it, or maybe it's not that much of a
Yeah.
big deal. What about the people who, when it comes to gratitude or grace, they maybe get stuck in positive affirmations and not positive behaviors?
Yeah. Um, when it comes to that, and that is such an eye-opening question too, because there's a lot of emotionally bypassing and a lot of spiritual bypassing, I believe that happens when it comes to the journey. And we re I feel like when it comes we have to look at ourselves, right? We have to see how what we are allowing in our lives. Like, oh my gosh, I'm really allowing someone to treat me bad, or this is not what I deserve, or whatever the case is. But sometimes we can get stuck there and we're just looking at how other people are treating us, but we don't also look at how we're treating other people. So I believe in order for me to be the person that wants to show up for others, I also have to have specific beliefs about myself. So I need to believe that I'm lovable. I need to believe that I'm devoted. I need to give all of these things to myself first because that very compliment that you mentioned, I wasn't able to receive it because I felt not good enough. So if I'm not able to receive something when you try to give me a compliment and I'm like, oh, it's okay, thanks, but and I pass it back on, I remove connection we are no longer in connection because I rejected something. And that's a blessing. That's something that I should be able to receive. And again, so many reasons why not. But now that impact the relationships. So how many of us are going around rejecting people, rejecting people, rejecting people because of a limiting belief, and we have robbed ourselves of love, and then we sit there and we're like, oh, I'm not loved, nobody loved me. But love was around all the time. Everything was right there with us. We just weren't able to receive it. There's a story that I tell a lot. When I took the love language test, and I realized that I got zero when it came to gifts receiving. And that was when I was learning what my emotional needs were, and I wanted to like really map it directly to my actual emotion, my love languages. So I also had my daughter take it because I was like, oh, let's do it together. And so I realized that the physical touch is because I was very comforted as a child, and I love to feel comfort. And quality time, it wasn't just because I like hanging around with people. It was because I like community. I had a really big family and I like to feel belonged. But why was my gift receiving zero? Why was that nothing? And so I deep dive into it, and I was asking my daughter, and she was saying that when she was little, if I gave her something, and then when I was upset, I would kind of always bring it back, like, well, look at all this you have, and look at all of that you have. And it made her feel like a burden. So when it comes to receiving gifts, she wasn't comfortable with it. And for me, I was 6 years old, I believe, and I saw my dad pass the gift over the fence, and I thought it was for me. And then I heard somebody say that it was for my sister that he had with someone else. And so in that moment, I made a belief that I'm not worthy of gifts and I'll never receive ever again. Now, I didn't know that consciously. This is just looking back, right? But that was a belief. I can't tell you how many times my ex-husband bought me a cake for my birthday because it wasn't the cake I wanted. I threw it out. Everything that he bought me, it had to be exactly what I want. People would buy me gifts. I don't want it. Like, I don't, this isn't practical. I could never, it was so hard to receive gifts. And so that rabbit hole really allowed me to see all the areas that I wasn't receiving too. I wasn't receiving compliments. I wasn't receiving grace. I wasn't receiving forgiveness. If somebody told me that they were genuinely sorry about the way they treated me, I wouldn't receive it. I would like, look, just that feeling was coming out in these other spaces. But and then when I'm at work, I want my boss to see how great of a job I did. But then when they complimented me, I couldn't receive it either. So I was like working hard for all of these things that I couldn't receive. So it's like, we have to be able to go down to the depths of us to really understand what is that block. We can't, how are we going to be able to be in relationship with each other if we're holding on to resentment or something like that? Like I was dating a gentleman, and most of the stuff he taught me, but when it came down to meeting his emotional needs, I was meeting them and I felt like I was doing a great job, but he never received it. And so while we had great connection, everything else was wonderful. Not being able to receive eventually builds up resentment. And then that resentment becomes disconnection. And then we're left wondering, like, what happened? Like, why, what did we do wrong? And in reality, maybe there are things that we could do, and there's always things that we could do differently. But in the core of it, what else could I have done? What else could anybody else have done if I can't receive it, or whatever I'm giving isn't being received? It's like we're playing handballs with a big old rock in front of us, and we're not really doing any service there, as my random analogy goes.
When it comes to love languages, I've read that book. I have it. I love it. I think it's a beautiful way for everyone to be able to identify how they want to be loved and how their partner or whomever wants
Mhm,
to be loved. And there's a little bit of a theory, and I was trying to look into this as well, is that so many people, the love language they chase
mhm,
is the love language they didn't get as a child.
mhm,
Or it was maybe done in unhealthy ways. So for me, I'm a big words of affirmation.
mhm,
And the more I talk to the men I work with, the more I realize that they are as well. And many times when you look at, let's say, men who are, and this could be any men, but let's say men 30, 40 and older, when they're a child, they probably didn't get that. It was more so, let's say, the daughter that got the words of affirmation. So they grew up wanting it.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, one of my triggers was gift receiving. Because as a child, anytime that I did something and I felt I didn't get the attention, or here's a toy, shut up. So I
Yeah.
grew up to not want it. So there was a person that I was dating, and her love language was gift giving, but she didn't know how to love me.
Yeah.
So, and my love language was words of affirmation, but that was her trigger. So when we got together in the beginning, we're showing each other love, and it's just like we're triggering each other. But I was able to catch it earlier
Mm-hmm.
on where she struggled a little bit because money was her thing. I
Mm-hmm.
need to work more, I need to work more, I need to work, right? And there's a sensitivity around that. She worked so much that she ended up getting sick. This is
Oh.
after we
Mm-hmm.
were in a relationship, right? What I found from this experience is that communication is so undervalued. And even though we talked about it and we did better, I wonder now, because you mentioned attachment styles, how many times do you hear about the person who is who's anxious and avoidant? And when
Mm-hmm.
they get together, it's like you're chasing after the person. We need to talk about this
Mm-hmm.
conflict. No, I
Yeah.
don't. They're throwing the holy water at you because you're some vampire demon
Yeah.
that wants to talk about this thing, right? When it comes to the mismatch
Mm-hmm.
of, let's say, personality, love language, attachment styles, how important is communication?
I thank you for asking that question because that's kind of the whole premise of my book and of the relationship language is that we understand the concepts of love language. We can understand our love language and we can understand our attachment style and we can set boundaries. But really and truly, what happens when it gets hard? When it gets hard and we're triggered, we aren't able to have the difficult conversation. And this is my current limiting belief is that when it gets hard, people leave when it gets difficult. And so that is why I created the relationship repair language because it gives us a name for what we need. So when our emotions are heightened, so let's say that I'm upset with you for, I don't know, we can pick a reason. Um, you just didn't buy me flowers or something or something. You didn't buy me flowers and I'm mad at you because you didn't buy me flowers. And I'm in my behavior and in my attachment, I would yell at you and then I would retreat and run away because I'm an avoidant. It got uncomfortable. All right, I'm going to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm gone. Then three, now you're messaging me like crazy. I'm assuming that you're an anxious, right? You're messaging me like crazy, giving me the affirmations that you believe that I needed, that I need. And at that point, I don't know what I need. I have no idea. But what I've learned is that in that moment, because I didn't get the flowers, I made that mean that I'm not significant to you. I made that mean that I'm not important. And so I am trying to communicate that, but I'm not saying those words. I'm saying, well, you didn't buy me flowers and you never buy me flowers and you don't do this and you don't. And I'm finding all of the things and that has blame language, it has attack. And so now I'm pouring that up onto you. And I think that being able to have a language to name what we need when those emotions are there. So I can say, you know what? I really just need the space, and the spacious repair language is one of them. There's two ways that can go where I need the space depending on your capacity to vent it out so that we can really get to the other side so I can hear that you are affirming me and I'm not able to hear it. And then I can also open up that space to understand what your experience was like during that. So now that we've had that experience, what can we learn about each other and how do and so the next time we can prevent another fight or another disconnection because we've repaired this part where I'm truly saying I just wanted to know that I'm important to you, and whatever that looks like in our repair, we now have a way to be closer in relationship. I also want to add a little bit to what you said about men, and I want to take this opportunity. Reparenting my father wound. And working on falling in love with my masculine energy has given me an opportunity to see men in such a beautiful way. I think in every little boy, thank you, in every man, there's a little boy who did not have his emotional needs met. And while I don't tend to blame parents or anything like that, when I look back in the world, especially Black men, so to speak, right? They grew up in a culture that came from a lot of suppressing you, and you have to become someone else, and you have to do so much to earn respect or to even looked at in a good way. Now men in general come with, you have responsibility, you are the legacy carrier, you are the generational bringer, you have to provide, you have to have strength, you have to have power. Meanwhile, their emotional needs are not being looked at the end of the day, when they're tired because 400 things they had to solve, where do they have the safety to say, oh God, I feel tired, without somebody saying, well, you got to do more, or you didn't do it right, or you need to do it differently, you know? So I feel like, and then men are also such fixers, like, you know, that's the part of the masculine, is to take care of things. And so sometimes that's where I think the disconnect can come with in relationships, because women want to be understood. They don't want to be they don't want a solution. And so when men were trained and learned that, oh, whatever a woman want, I gotta do, and I have to do it this way, that can carry through generation. And so it's not a guy's fault if he doesn't know how to listen with compassion or how to listen in certain ways. He was never taught. He never had that chance to learn it. So I really appreciate when men take the time to learn their love languages and their attachment style and put in the work and reparent their inner child, learn about their mother wounds and their father wounds, because that is truly a journey that is so, so deep and honoring. And even a man who doesn't even know that, there's so much that he's carrying. I feel like that is so heavy, and being able to give, and this is why I love the relationship prayer language, because we're able to give each other a chance to have a different way of going about doing relationships, not just with other people, but ourselves and the legacy that we're going to carry forward. So that is my answer to that question.
Thank you so much for that because I think it's very nice hearing it from a woman say
Hmm.
that because a lot of men spend a lot of times in their heads where a lot of women spend a lot of times in their hearts. But the beautiful thing is when they come together now, the woman will get the man to be heartfelt and the man will get the woman to be headfelt, right? And together, it's a beautiful thing, especially
Hmm.
when it's healthy. The repair languages, you mentioned there's, I think, about six of them, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah, there's six.
Can you go through them for us, please?
Sure. So, and these are all languages that I learned and I kind of came up with because of the experiences with my children. And so one of them is the soothing language. I have a young daughter. She gets very, very triggered very easily, and she can't hear me at all when I'm talking. And so what she needs is to feel comforted in, so that her nervous system can relax, so that we can be able to have a conversation. And that can look different for everybody, but that's one of them. The other is the accountability language. I love that one. I that's the one that I speak. I'm somebody who holds myself accountable and take responsibility, and sometimes that can be a little too much. That's how I like get hung up, right? But at the same time, I also know the power of being able to say to somebody, you know, I really understand how my behavior affected you, and that was not my intention. I really want to do it differently and honor this connection. It's acknowledging that I can see how I've affected you. I can see that you were hurt, you felt dismissed, whatever it is that you felt, I want to be able to understand that also. And the other one is the empathic language. And my oldest daughter taught me that one. It's really being able to speak from my heart. It's saying that I love you and I care about you enough that I'm going to take myself out of the situation and put myself in your shoe and understand what that experience was like for you, and having compassion, because It's not about fixing, it's not necessarily for me to take accountability or anything like that. But if someone's really having a hard time and they just need to feel understood, that's the biggest gift that we can give each other, I believe. I know what it feels like to receive it, and that's what I also want to be able to give. And then there is the present, being present, not like, not no phones or anything like that, but being present to say, oh, I can see that when you said that, I took it this way, and this is how I respond. Not, oh, that's not what happened. That is not how it went. That need to defend. It's being open enough to say, I am living consciously and I'm present, that I know that I have attachment wounds and I have other wounds and they can show up. And so when you're communicating that with me, I'm here and I'm hearing it, and I'm going to look at it with an open mind. And then the affirming one, which I think, based on what you said, I really love. It's that reassurance is, no matter what's happening, being able to tell someone, like, we can be in disagreement, but we're still safe. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. We're together. We're gonna get through this. Because sometimes we just need to know that this is not the end of the relationship. And then there's that spacious one. This is one of my favorites because it can go two ways. It can say, like, I'm really triggered right now, or I'm really not sure how I feel, or how I'm feeling is going to affect you. And I really need to take some time so that I can take care of myself and giving myself, but I'm going to come back. Making sure that I say that I want to revisit this. I want to honor your side too. I just need to understand me. And the other side of that is having the space to create that safety. So this is something that I do with my kids. If one of us is upset, in that moment, you have permission to vent, to throw a tantrum, to have a good cuss out, to tell me exactly how you feel, and feel safe enough to know that that is not going to be used against you. That is me allowing you to have that space, because I understand that sometimes we just need to express it. It doesn't mean that it's true. We just have to get it out. And once we're able to get it out, then we can come down and say, okay, now that that's done, we can see it differently. Because what that space does, it allows me to witness that person and truly appreciate that they trusted me enough to tell me some very hurtful things, and know that they're still loved and they're still important, and I'm still here. So those are the premises behind the six love languages. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
the six repair language. I said love language. That's
Repair
not mine.
languages.
Yes.
Love languages is everybody's, but this one is hers specifically because I love the soothe part and the empathy. Those are like, because I was writing this down, those are two that I really, really enjoyed
Mhm.
because self-soothing, I find it to be difficult for some people. Like sometimes they want to run into someone else's arms instead of, let's say, give yourself a hug.
Mhm.
Right? Stand in front of the mirror and maybe tell yourself all the things that you love about yourself because the world can definitely show us all the things that we don't like about ourselves,
Mhm.
right? And that leads me to my final question for you, but I want to give you three wishes as I do this final question.
Okay.
What are three things you wish people knew about handling inner conflict and why?
One, I wish they knew that it was really their inner child. It's truly our inner child. The second is acknowledging that inner child. It may mean that you need to blame your parents, and that's okay. It's blaming from that child's experience, period. There's a moment where something happened and our heart sunk and we felt unloved. Being able to acknowledge that, oh my gosh, that's one of the biggest, biggest things I've experienced in my life that has been truly transformational. And it opened up the door for the third one is forgiveness. And people talk about forgiveness a lot. Forgiveness is a daily journey. It is something that is being practiced all along. But forgiveness, not in the sense of I need to forgive that person or whatever it is. It's forgiving your mom and naming what you need to forgive your mom for. Forgiving your dad and naming it. I was 8 years old when my dad was murdered. And I carried so much unworthiness for so long. Going and being able to forgive my father was incredible for me because that opened up the door for me to forgive myself because a lot of the things that I was resentful to him for were the things that I started doing myself. So there's aspects of forgiveness that needs to be mom, dad, but also yourself. And the final part of that forgiveness is being forgiven by your inner child. There's a that's a beautiful experience, and